BBC London 94.9.
Good morning. The top story we're waking up to today, the European Commission has urged the UK government to raise taxes. They've called for council tax bands to be revalued, which will put up bills for many Londoners. It's sort of being described as the mansion tax by the back door. The Commission also says there should be more taxes on higher value properties, which will affect London's homeowners and adjustments to the Help to Buy scheme. Earlier, we spoke to Rob Oxley from the Eurosceptic body Business for Britain. He told us, in his opinion, the Commission's recommendations are, put simply, absurd.
I find a bit flabbergasted that a European Commission and a European Parliament, which has just had a resounding message from the voters to basically butt out a little bit, uses one of the first things only a week later to start recommending higher taxes for the UK economy. It's not only further evidence of the EU Commission interfering at a point when it's not needed, but also when it does come to interfering, that its policy recommendations are absurd.
Jonathan Davis is an economist and wealth manager, joins us now. Good morning to you. What is your reaction to this advice?
Yeah. I see the BBC is saying that ministers will be furious about this intervention. It strikes me as something very yes ministerish about it. I wouldn't be surprised, reading between the lines, that actually the Treasury and the civil servants have told the European Commission what to say, because the Treasury knows that the Help to Buy scheme is skewing things massively. In general, what they're saying is raise taxes on property. Well, you know, that's not a terrible thing. The problem is, of course, are they going to cut taxes anywhere else? No, of course not. So if they do this, it'll be even more taxes on the people. Whoever's recommended it doesn't matter, and even more spending by the government, which is the last thing that we need. We need reduced spending.
So what you're saying is that the government is looking at this and going, yeah, well, that's what we asked you to do, so that we can actually say this is what we're doing and look a bit like what it's thumbing its nose at the EC?
Well, indeed. They want to pretend to be Eurosceptic, but in fact they're working hand in glove with them. And yes, I think George Osborne realises that particularly Help to Buy, which is mentioned here, is causing problems in some parts of the housing market, particularly, of course, in London. So he's looking for support from, on the face of it, people who he's against, to say this is what you should do, and then he'll say, well, actually, it's not a bad idea.
Except, Jonathan, with respect, Jonathan, isn't it also true to say, I mean, you talk about the housing market and problems with the housing market. The housing market, per se, has no vote. The people who have the votes are the people who've been helped by the Help to Buy scheme, and they're going to be giving them a thumbs up, surely.
Yes. Well, let's just be clear on what you said there. You're right. The housing market itself doesn't have a vote. No. But as you also say, because of rising house prices, that's one of the reasons why I think the Conservatives did relatively well in the European elections, and why they ought to do relatively well in the general election next year. I mean, let's face it, every Chancellor since time immemorial has bought votes a couple of years out from a general election, and that's exactly what Help to Buy is. In my view, perhaps facetiously, but realistically, it's the most Marxist policy I've seen since Gordon Brown was around. It doesn't help society. What it does is help developers, estate agents, people who are in the housing market.
And individuals who want to buy their own home. And individuals who want to buy their own home. There's nothing Marxist about that, surely.
Au contraire, because you say help people to buy their own home. What they're doing is borrowing 95% of the price of that property. No, I didn't say the value. Price is an opinion. My point being, they've borrowed massively. That's Marxism. They're now, in effect, in hock to the government. And, of course, the next generation is under the cosh for this if this all goes bad, which actually I think it will over the next few years.
So do you think we should have no intervention then, state intervention, in the housing market?
We should stop intervening in the housing market. We've been doing it for decades. We should get out of the housing market, and we should let the market find its own levels instead of supporting prices. You know, you guys in the media, you talk about we need to help people. You just said it. We need to help people.
No, actually, with respect to that, I didn't say that as a personal view. I merely asked you the question because it's demonstrably true that people are buying homes using the government scheme. That's all I said.
Well, they're borrowing money. They're buying 5% of the property. That's what they're buying because they're borrowing 95%.
And many of them making themselves significantly wealthier because of the fact that the housing market has gone mad.
Yes, in the short term.
In the short term,
yes,
and I hear your note of caution. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much. That's Jonathan Davis, economist and wealth manager, joining us this morning.